What if I told you that a tiny detail on the edge of your coins once determined the fate of entire economies? These ridges aren't just for show. They were a desperate solution to one of history's most devastating financial crimes. Imagine this: you're a merchant in medieval England, carefully counting your silver coins after a day of trade. But something's off. These coins feel lighter. The edges look rough, uneven, almost chewed. What if I told you that a quiet criminal network was skimming millions in today's money, one tiny sliver at a time? Today, we're exposing one of the most ingenious financial crimes in history: coin clipping. You'll see how criminals operated illegal workshops, how their simple tools siphoned wealth from entire nations, and why governments were so desperate to stop them that they executed thousands. And stick around, because this medieval scandal has modern parallels that might just change the way you think about money today. What if I told you one of history's most profitable crimes required nothing more than a knife and a steady hand? No elaborate heist, no armed robberies, just patience and precision. This was coin clipping, and it quietly drained economies dry. The crime was simple: clip a small amount of precious metal from the edges of coins. One coin? Barely noticeable. 1,000 coins? A small fortune? A whole nation? Economic collapse. By the late 1600s, up to 20% of England's silver currency had been illegally harvested. Imagine that a fifth of the entire money supply systematically stolen, not by a shadowy cartel, but by ordinary merchants, innkeepers, even clergy, all participating in this slow-motion heist. But coin clipping evolved. Some criminals skipped the knife altogether. Instead, they would shake coins in leather bags, collecting the fine silver dust that rubbed off. Others used acid to dissolve the outer layers of gold. The ingenuity was shocking. But how did they cash in? A hidden network of middlemen bought these shavings, melting them into untraceable bullion, recycled into jewelry, tableware, or secretly funneled back into circulation. It was a perfect crime, until it wasn't. Every clipped coin might seem insignificant, but the combined effect was devastating. Imagine trying to buy bread, only to have a merchant weigh every single coin you hand over, suspicious of fraud. That's what everyday life became: slow, frustrating, and fueled by distrust. Merchants started demanding more coins for the same goods, driving inflation. Farmers, artisans, and traders struggled to price their wares because the value of money was unpredictable. Soon, entire economies grinded to a halt. And then came the 1278 coin clipping scandal, one of England's darkest chapters. King Edward I launched a brutal crackdown. His solution? Mass executions. Panic swept the streets, as hoarding unclipped coins became the only way to preserve wealth. And when people needed someone to blame, a deadly scapegoat emerged: England's Jewish community. Already marginalized, they became the primary targets of persecution, with hundreds executed and their assets seized. This wasn't just a financial crime anymore. It was a national crisis that turned into a human tragedy. With economies crumbling, rulers realized they had two choices: brutal punishment or innovation. First, they went with fear. Coin clippers were hanged, drawn, and quartered. Women accused of clipping were burned at the stake. Entire families were wiped out. But did this stop the crime? Not at all. The potential profits outweighed the risks. So governments turned to technology. Enter Isaac Newton. Yes, the same Newton who gave us gravity. As master of the Royal Mint, he led the charge in redesigning England's coinage. His solution? Milled edges. Those tiny ridges you still see on coins today. With ridged edges, clipping became instantly obvious. A single glance could expose a tampered coin, making the crime nearly impossible to conceal. It was a game changer. But even that wasn't enough. In 1696, England launched the Great Recoinage, melting down all clipped coins and replacing them with new, more secure designs. It was an economic reboot so ambitious that the government had to introduce paper money just to keep the economy running during the transition. Next time you feel the ridges on a quarter or a dime, remember, they aren't decoration. They're battle scars. a reminder of an age-old war between criminals and governments, between deception and trust. Coin clipping may be a thing of the past, but the battle isn't over. Today's criminals don't use knives. They use cybercrime, counterfeiting, and financial fraud. Instead of clipping coins, they hack digital wallets and manipulate cryptocurrency markets. History proves one thing: as long as money exists, people will find ways to exploit it. The real question is, what's the next frontier of financial deception? Watch the next video on your screen. The End.